Hello, friends, and welcome to the afternoon edition of Bible study. We are in the NIV, and I know people are emotional about that, but I haven't picked a favorite version of the Bible. This is just the first one that I picked. People get very emotional over it, and honestly, such a strong emotional reaction makes me not trust your judgment, honestly. Just so you know, because that's kind of how I operate. Because it says to me that you're not being clear-headed, and so that doesn't work for me. Sorry. I'm going to read every version of the Bible I can get my hands on, though. So in the beginning of 2026, we're going to start with the KJV. I haven't really decided the order because 2026 is over a year away, and I'll pick that the end of 2025. Just like I picked that in the beginning of 2025, we're still going to be in the NIV. But we're going to be in the Old Testament. And we're going to be in the Psalms. So I'm going to read those still from the NIV. So that way I've completely finished the NIV. Because on the Facebook page, I'm going to do the Proverbs from the NIV. I know the Proverbs that are up there on the Facebook page are from the KJV. You might be happy you're there. But in 2026, I'll get to the KJV, so feel free to come right on back. If you've got a favorite version of the Bible, instead of being an obnoxious jerk, why don't you just tell me what it is down below? And we can feel free to have a, good Bible discussion, but leave your hostility at the door, because I'm just not doing it. I will just ignore you. For clarification of anyone who might be confused, I'm Generation X. We never respond well to aggression. You're not going to get anywhere. We'll literally just call you a jerk and move on with our life. Because if all you're doing is being aggressive, then you don't have a point to make. And then there's no reason for me to continue to listen to you, because I'm not going to learn anything from you. Nobody learns anything when somebody gets aggressive in the room. All learning just stops because the other emotions are activated, starting with the, are we physically safe? And those hormones override every other part of the brain. So we'll never be successful. So you might as well find another tactic. So we are in Hebrews, in the NIV, chapter 9. We're doing verses 11 through 28, which is the rest of chapter 9. To find the first part of that, you can look at yesterday's video. The blood of Christ. Okay? When Christ came as a high priest of the good things that are already here, and some are to come. Okay. Those are two different connotations. Are to come and here. I think it's both present and future. He went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle that is not man-made. Now, in the previous parable, they were talking about how the temple in Jerusalem and the temple, when it was in the tent, was set up to be a mimic of heaven. And the most holy of places actually being heaven itself. Okay, so that's important to remember. He went to the more perfect tabernacle that is not man-made. That is to say, not a part of this creation. He did not enter by the means of blood of goats and calves, but he entered the most holy place once and for all by his own blood, having obtained eternal redemption. The blood of goats and bulls and the ashes of a heifer sprinkled on those who are ceremonially unclean sanctified them, so they are outwardly clean. So they appear clean, not internally clean. Okay? How much more then will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered him unblemished to God, because he was, without sin, cleanse our conscience from the acts that lead to death. From useless rituals. This is in some manuscripts. So we may serve the living God. So basically, they're saying the priests of old were play acting. And Jesus wasn't play acting. He didn't go to the pretend heaven that was the inner chamber of the most holy place. He actually went to heaven. So, yes. Verse 15, for this reason, Christ is a mediator of a new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, now that has died as a ransom to set free from the sins committed under the first covenant. In the case of a will, some Greek, so same Greek word as covenant, which is also in verse 17, so this verse and the next one. So in this case, in the case of a covenant in Greek, which translates to will as well, so there's more than one definition for that word. It is necessary to prove the death of the one who made it. True, you don't execute somebody's will while they're still alive. The will is for after death, right? Because the will is in force only when somebody has died. So there you go. So that's always been the case. It never takes effect while one who made it is living. This is why even the first covenant was not put into effect without blood. And so they were sacrificing animals for their sins. It's just what? Right. But then we've also grown up in the era post-Jesus, where he made the ultimate sacrifice so we don't have to kill things anymore, right? So when Moses had proclaimed every commandment of the law to the people, he took the blood of calves together with water, scarlet wool, and branches of a hyssop, and sprinkled the scroll and all the people. Okay? He said, this is the blood of the covenant, which God has commanded you to keep. It's in Exodus 24:8. So not just holy water being flung on them in church like we get these days. If you go to certain types of churches, like I think in a most Catholic, you could say, or at least during the high holy days anyway. Like when they're doing Ash Wednesday and stuff. I know they're fling, and no problems there. Fling all the holy water on people that you want. You're in a church, like. You come over here, I got a squirt bottle that's just got holy water in it so I can sanctify anything I want, including the ceiling, and in a moment's notice. So if you start acting a fool, I might just spray you with water like you're, like you need some holy water on you. So, no shade there. Do whatever you got to do. I'm with you. It doesn't hurt anything. But he's saying it wasn't just water, it was blood. And that's what he was supposed to do. And I will say Moses, when he's in that, Aaron, when he's in that inner chamber, as the high priest, that's what he does. He's flinging blood all on everything. And I explained that. Those Levites, because they get angry when they kill. They get angry, and then they kill. So that's their job, to ritually sacrifice the animals for the rest of time. And they got to fling the blood around. That's part of the job. I'm not saying that I would want to do it. And I can say I'm related to the people who have to. He said, this is the blood of the covenant which God has commanded you to keep. It's Exodus, right? In the same way, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and everything used in his ceremonies. That's what was written. In fact, the law requires that nearly everything be cleansed with blood. It's like what you were like, that seems very unsanitary in today's world, right? And that's what's the opposite of what we'd like to do. And without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. It's like, wow. So you're meant to suffer for your sins. It's supposed to have pain. It was necessary then for the copies of the heavenly things to be purified with these sacrifices. But the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. So there were a level of type of sacrifice, type of blood that made it more purified than another. So you understand the context there. Because you always purify things that are holy with things that are more holy. For Christ did not enter a man-made sanctuary that was only a copy of the true one. He entered heaven itself, now to appear for us in God's presence. Remember, he's our defense attorney, essentially, by today's context. Nor did he enter heaven to offer himself again and again, the way a high priest enters the most holy place every year with blood that is not his own. Blood that is not his own is important. Then Christ would have had to suffer many times since the creation of the world. But now he has appeared once and for all at the end of the ages to do away with the sin by the sacrifice of himself. He is the ultimate sacrifice. He sacrificed himself for all sins, past, present, and future. There's no sin that if you ask him for forgiveness and you change your ways, we call that penance, you show him you really mean it, that he won't forgive you. Just as man is destined to die once and after that to face judgment, so Christ is sacrificed once to take away the sins of many people, and he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, because he already did that. He doesn't need to do it again. But to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him. So your soul entering heaven instead of being obliterated during Revelations. So with that, let's remember that, just like as we like to talk about during memorial times, just like we remember from memorial times, our freedom was bought with the blood sacrifices of soldiers, right? Seeming appropriate too, seeing as how in a couple of days we have Veterans Day, and that means something to me. I come from a family with veterans in it, so yes, our freedoms are bought with the blood of the people who are willing to live and die for us. And Jesus did both. First he died for us, and then he rose again so he could live for us, to protect us up there, even no matter how we're acting out of character down here. So let's do right today and act right, so he's proud of us in every moment. Because what better defense attorney can you get than one who absolutely believes in your innocence?